Hello and what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You're watching Miguel EDC. Today we're going to be reviewing this guy right here, the Civivi Elementum, the button lock. This is the OG button lock. There's now a new version of this guy which is called the Civivi Elementum Button Lock 2. So it would be like combining the OG Elementum and the button lock Elementum and then putting all into the chassis for the original one. So I have like a button right here. But this is the OG Elementum. This is the OG Elementum button lock, which is a larger knife, as you can see. Let's get some quick measurements on this guy here right off the bat, talking about overall length. This guy is going to come in at, well, definitely over 8 inches actually. So exactly 8 inches in length. So it's going to be a whole 1 inch longer than the OG Elementum, right? This button lock. I think the reasoning here is that the blade has to be a little bit longer for the button lock being the only deployment option for that all to work out. So if you want to swing the blade open, it has to be a certain length, a certain weight. Blade cutting edge is going to be 3 1/4. Total blade length is going to be around a little bit over 3 1/2. The full handle here is going to be around 4 1/2. So those are your measurements right there. Let's do some quick comparisons here since we already have the OG Elementum right here, right? So OG Elementum is a little bit smaller. I feel like as soon as I got a chance to experience the Elementum button lock and feel the size of it, I'm like, this is the size that the Elementum should have came in from the get-go. And I wouldn't surprise if at some point they add a flipper tab to this bigger size Elementum. So I'll talk more about that as the video progresses later on. But yeah, that is one thing that definitely stuck out for me. Since we're in the Civivi family, let's toss in a Civivi Ortis. Definitely the button lock there, 8 inches overall is going to be the biggest one of them all. Let's compare it to the Spyderco's. Here's the Para 2, PM2, Paramilitary 2, and the Para 3. There you are. So yeah, somewhere in between the Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. Definitely smaller than the Para 2, bigger than the Para 3. Let's do a quick Demco brothers, right, side by side. So this guy is going to be bigger than the Demco AD 20.5 versions, both of them. The shark's foot blade and the clip point blade right there. Yep, you guys saw it. Definitely probably like a ½ inch, a good ½ inch, or maybe a ¼ inch longer. By the way, I'm EDCing these guys right now as we speak. Can't wait to show you guys the review video, right? Can't wait to share that with you guys. Keeping it in the WeKnife Civivi Sencut family. Sencut is a subsidiary of WeKnife. Civivi is also sister brand to WeKnife, so they're all under the same WeKnife umbrella there. And so comparing it side by side, I want to say it is exactly very close, if not the same size as the Sencut Crawley right there, and it's maybe a hair bigger than the Saxi, right? The Saxi is shorter than the Crawley. It has a thicker blade, of course, but yeah, very comparable knives right there. You guys let me know. Okay, going back to the action really quick, right? So this guy has one deployment option, and that is this button right here. That is the only deployment option that this guy has. It does have black G10. I kind of went for this old blacked out version, right? Everything's blacked out. The hardware, the clip, the blade, the liners, the scales. So there's lots of, I want to say, pros and cons with it being completely just button lock deployment only type of knife. Before I get into that, it does have a 14C 28N, which is printed right there, really tiny. I doubt the camera is going to even pick it up. This one is in all black. In typical Civivi fashion, you have a deep pocket carry, and yeah, that gets the job done. Very similar to the deep pocket carry on the original Elementum, similar to the one in the Ortis. You can kind of see a resemblance right there. Very similar pocket clips, and I mean, that's for a reason, right? They get the job done. Since we're here, let's do a quick folded comparison there next to the Para 3, PM2. These obviously are going to be much wider knives to carry in your pocket. Great thing about the Elementum button lock, being a lot, maybe like stretched out a little bit from the original design, still very slim, still very gentleman-like, and that's what I liked about it. That's why I also got it in all black, and you can see that right there. Here it is compared to the Demco brothers on both blade variants right there. So I want to say, they're just as tall, but obviously the Demco AD 20.5, so they're going to be a little bit wider on the pocket. Sencut brothers, we were just looking at a second ago, it's going to be a lot closer to the Crawley than it is to the Saxi. The Crawley there, right, it's going to be probably about the same width, whereas the Saxi, because of the blade, right, is going to be a little bit wider than these two. And in case you're wondering, we didn't forget about the Civivi family. We have the Civivi Elementum OG right here. It's probably going to be around the same width, and then the Ortis might be just a hair a little bit wider because of the blade sticking out right there. Quick carry profile here, right next to the Para 3, a little bit thicker there. The Para 2 or PM2 is going to be Arguably a hair bigger, but very, very comparable. Demco brothers of any kind, they're going to be a little bit slimmer than the Civivi. Compared to the Sencut Crawley, that's going to be a wider, fatter knife right there. Same with the Saxy. You guys be the judge of that. And they're not by much, right? Not by much. Next to the OG Elementum, hard to see, hard to line them up next to each other, but they are pretty much exactly the same width, which is very nice that Civivi did that. Here it is next to the Ortis, about the same width as the Ortis as well. See, unlike the Civivi Elementum OG, where you have a linear hole, on this guy you have this mechanism here in the back, which is very similar to how they did it in the Ortis. So you have just that one bar right there, and then you could just pass your linear through it. So it's kind of interesting that they kind of went with that design instead of the linear hole on the original Civivi Elementum. Also wanted to mention, so this is a drop point design, just like the OG Elementum. There's some jimping going on right there in the top. You can probably see it. Just very, very nice. Of course, you got the Civivi logo, which is a little bit smaller than the Civivi logo on the OG Elementum, but it makes sense. They had to make room for the button. There's a very good sharpening choil right here, so that's also very nice when it comes time to sharpening your blade. As you guys already know by now, we do a hardware check in every video. My tools are very affordable, guys. You can find them in the description. This is part of the Strabito tool set, and it brings all kinds of screwdrivers and drill bits that you may need to take apart your knife, or even just in general for things that you may need to take apart in the house. Check out the links in the description below. They're affiliate links. They help out the channel at no extra cost to you. T8 on the pivot and also on the frame here. These are going to be T8 as well. I want to say the pocket clip is definitely going to be a T6. So T6 and T8. Is that the case? Surely enough, right? T6 on the pocket clip. Oh, butterfingers. And then T8 everywhere else in the knife. So that gives you a good idea there on the hardware. I did want to mention the pocket clip is reversible. You can put it on the other side as well. As far as the inside, this guy, I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but it is milled, and I'm sorry it's all black. It just makes it difficult for the camera. There you go. Hopefully you can see it from that angle there. So it is milled on the inside, which helps with the weight. That's actually the next bit that we're going to do here. So let's do a quick weight check. For comparisons really quick, remember the Civivi Elementum was 2.8 and the Ortis, if you haven't checked out the review yet, the Ortis was 2.9. So both of these are under that 3 ounces, I guess, golden threshold. So here we go. The button lock obviously is a little bit of a bigger knife. 8 inches overall, longer blade, comes in at 3.3 ounces, guys. Overall weight. Let's do it one more time for fair measure. There it is. At 3.3 ounces, guys, this feels like a very, very good EDC knife right here. And a lot of it has to do with the blade, right? The blade has to be a certain length and a certain weight in order for it to, be able to swing open and close the way it does on this guy. I did want to say, and maybe the light can pick it up a little bit, so I did get this guy in all black, and as I was EDCing it here and there, I did get some marks on the blade. So that's something to keep in mind if you're maybe not wanting to put any streaks or marks on your blade. Maybe go for the satin versions out there, but I wanted this guy to be kind of like a gentleman type of knife in all black, and you can kind of probably see it from this angle a little bit better. It doesn't bother me because that's what knives are for. They're meant to be used, meant to be beaten. Let's do a quick blade stock thickness on this guy. Let's check out the blade here. Shouldn't be too different from the OG Elementum. So it's going to be, I want to say here, thickest part is going to be 0.11 inches, and at the very tip we should be dealing with 0.02. Pretty comparable to a lot of other knives that we have reviewed in the channel as well. I want to give credit to the fidgetability. There's your new word of the day. So this guy is very fidget friendly, right? So the way it works, you push the button and you don't just leave it pressed. You have to push and let go, push and let go, swing your hand, and it opens, push and let go, and it falls shut. That's it. Simple as that. So you want to push and let go each and every single time, and then you get an action that looks like this. And by the way, when that knife is locked, there is no other way to open the blade except for pushing the button, right? Except for pushing the button. So that's something else you want to keep in mind with this guy. So you could carry this guy whichever way, right? That blade is not opening. And the chances of you hitting that button in your pocket are going to be slim to none, right? Because it definitely requires a certain level of pressure right there in order for you to be able to, get it to disengage the blade, right? And you can kind of see it for yourself. So if I put it at an angle, push the button, you see the blade just swings out. That's a good thing about it, right? Very very fidgety. I love EDC in this guy for the time that I have, and also look forward to EDC in this guy every single time as part of my weekly, monthly rotation. I also would carry this guy for, let's say, a special event, or maybe if I'm going to somewhere where I'm, you know, wearing a suit or what have you. Yeah, this is a very gentleman knife style knife because it's all black, very slim. The whole aesthetics of a gentleman knife, you got that all here with the button lock. Now, I will say this, right? Let me address the elephant in the room here. So you have two Sencut siblings here, because again, they're part of the same company. And the thing about these guys is they have multiple deployment options, and that's my only gripe with the Civivi Elementum button lock. It's the fact that you can only open and close this guy with the button, and that's fine. And there's a lot of, again, fidgetability with that, which is great. And a knife is not a toy, you know, and all that blah blah blah, great. But for people that do enjoy, you know, a nice fidget knife and whatnot, the Sencut Crawley gives you the option to still use the button lock, so you can still do the, you know, button opening and close just like the Elementum button lock. You can flip just like the original Elementum, you can flip it open, which is still nice. You're probably saying, okay, Miguel, where they just put out a Civivi Elementum button lock 2, which has the button and the flipper. But then on top of that, the Sencut Crawley can also be thumb deployed, right? Which I don't think that new Civivi Elementum can. Thumb deployed, and maybe not on this one, but same deal with the Saxi. You can also, a fourth deployment option would be to reverse flick, right? So you can do that with the Saxi too. So I got 4 different ways to reverse flick, thumb deployment, the flipper, and you always have the button itself. So a lot more options with these two, right? These two are up there and probably the most fidgetable knives, but you get the idea, right? I just wanted to drive home the point that what this OG button lock from Civivi on the Elementum was missing is multiple deployment options. And again, that's just a personal gripe of mine. You know, it might not be an issue for you. You may be just fine with that. You know, it might not bother you all that much. So with that in mind, I did mention earlier, it is deep pocket carry. When this thing is on your pocket, there's nothing showing whatsoever. And because you get it all black, the clip is also black, and so it doesn't really call attention all that much. I want to say this guy is probably, or it's going to be a little bit handle heavy for sure. But yeah, the balance is about right there, a little bit behind the actual button itself. So this is a drop point blade shape, very similar to the original one, of course, right? That's what makes an Elementum an Elementum. And so the same thing I said on the Elementum review still stands on this review, right? It's the fact that if you take every single blade shape of every knife out there, and you take every single handle shape of every single knife out there, and you kind of average them all out, right? You're probably going to end up with a design very similar to, very vanilla design like the Civivi Elementum, and that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing, because for everyday tasks, you have a knife that is this good looking, this ergonomically friendly, you definitely cannot go wrong. As you can see here, I can get a full 4-finger grip. There's plenty of handles still showing, no issues there. Questionable to forward choke on it. There's no finger choil here. That's a sharpening choil, so I wouldn't recommend that. And I want to say, you know, my fingers are well out of the way of the button, and you know, I wouldn't see myself pushing the button in any way unless I, you know, intentionally wanted to. That blade is rock solid in place. That blade is not going anywhere. So this is a very, very solid lock. And the way this works, you notice when I push this button, look what happens to the blade. You see it there? And then as the blade opens, this disc slides into place. Boom, and that's what locks the blade in place. We of course have to do the customary paper test here, right? So let's see. All right, look at that. Even after weeks and weeks of EDCing, right? That is one thing that there are no questions about with Civivi knives, right? They come super sharp out of the box, right? And especially if the faster you make the cuts, the better. Look at that. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If there's anything that you guys think that I'm missing, any feedback, any additional questions, concerns, anything like that, please let me know in the comments. I would love to answer any questions you may have or take any feedback that you may have for future videos. By the time you're seeing this video, by the way, chances are the Civivi Scintilia, this little guy right here, the review for this guy is probably already live on the channel. So if that's the case, I'm going to put a card right here for you guys to check that out next. Again, thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.